To open the meeting. This is the Lee Select Board meeting. The date is December 20th. Time 7 o'clock. Our first order of business are the minutes. We have open session minutes from 12:06. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
If there's no further discussion on the minutes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's Eileen. Our next order of business, we have a couple hearings. Our first hearing is for the alteration of premises for the Alpamayo restaurant. I believe you came before us last time. We appreciate it, and we gained. If you want to come back up, yeah, I think where we left it last time was. We definitely want to work with you, and this seems like a very reasonable request. I think, from my understanding, is the town just needs a couple insurance liability documents from you,
okay,
in order to go forward and approve this. So I have here the list of insurance documents. One is the workers' compensation, which you already have.
yes,
We have public liability, property damage liability. So those are two different, which I don't believe you have. That's my understanding right now.
Or at least not on file.
Not on file with us. So you may have these already, but they're not on file with us.
I do.
Yeah.
I do, yes.
Yes, you do. So,
Yeah.
and then there's another comprehensive general liability. We would just need you to name the town as an additional insured entity.
Okay,
So, and then we have your liquor liability insurance on file as well. So those three documents are basically what we're requiring to issue this permit, but I was wondering if the board would be interested in approving this permit with the condition that Alpamayo provide us with these documents.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we tentatively approve the expansion to the 5 tables, but they remain at 3 tables until they provide us with the documentation listed from town's attorney.
I'll second that.
that's good.
Before we go forward, I just want to open it up as being a public hearing to anybody that would like to comment further on this. So if you'd like to, if you're on Zoom, raise your hand. I don't see anybody here who would want to weigh in, so let's give it about another few seconds here. But I think that if there's no further discussion, I'd ask for all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye. You have your alteration of premises permit on the condition, and maybe you can connect with Chris or Sabrina,
Okay.
to just
Give it all exactly information.
exactly what you need. Yeah, we have it here for you. So then, if you just provide us with those, you'll be good to go.
Great, thanks
All right.
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Good day. Thank you.
Yep, all right.
So that brings us to our next public hearing. This is a continuation of a special permit for Canna Provisions, and I do have an email here from Eric Williams, the COO of Canna Provisions, saying Canna Provisions would like to pull its application for the special permit.
Not to be a stickler, but are we at 7:15 yet?
Oh,
Made it until 7:15?
You're right. So
Or we could do another piece of business.
we could come back to this
Yeah,
at
if that's,
7:15.
I don't want anybody to
Yeah, miss
have
out.
a
Yeah.
reason to not be here and comment if they wish.
Very, no, that's good point of order. So we can come back to that. We can move on to some general business. In the meantime, why don't, how long is, I guess we can take the Berkshire Housing, the Eagle Mill update. I don't think that would be,
Public comment's gonna be really fast.
oh, you're right, yeah.
It's gonna be really quick because nobody's here.
Well, yeah,
I do have one that Kathy asked me to share.
well, let's go to public comment if
I'll
there's
be
any.
quick though.
I thought it would be a no-brainer.
So, Chris, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, just on behalf of Kathy Hall and the Youth Commission, she asked that I just share that the ice rink is set up and ready for skating. Please be aware of changes in the weather because it can cause a weakness in the ice. Huge thanks to our volunteers, Bill Hall, Aidan Klein, Mike Klein, Aaron Aubin, Rob Maloney, Sean Renier, and the Halls, Sean, Isabella, Natalie, and Ella for setting up the ice rink on December 10th. Also a huge thanks to Jim Morwick and Don Humiston from the DPW for transporting and unloading the equipment to the athletic field, and Matt Fenton, Tiffany Hartledge, and Austin White from the fire department for filling the liner with water. In addition, the Youth Commission would like to thank Lenny Tisdale, Zach Sorrentino, and Chief Brown for coordinating and providing teams for this project.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty simple, I have to say. It was a nice, I guess it's new this year because in previous years, we've done like a timber frame framed out, and this year, the town bought a plastic, snap together
Prefab,
panel. Yeah, it's all panels that just kind of clips together, and the straps that run under the whole thing that holds it all together. And I think it's a little bit bigger than it was in the previous years. It's like 60 by 100 feet. So hopefully it gets a lot of enjoyment this winter. And if there's, I guess we're still in public comment. So if anybody from Zoom would like to comment, please raise your hand this time. I guess, we still have about 7 or 8 minutes here, so.
And we have John and Eileen online from
Yeah,
Berkshire Housing.
I think that would make sense to do the Berkshire Housing Eagle Mill update. So Eileen, John, if you want to unmute yourselves, and please feel free to give us an update.
Okay, well, good evening. I'll get us started. Well, thank you for the invitation. I thought I'd do a really quick just remembering of where we've been. So in June of 21, this project was funded by DHCD. It was the midst of COVID. We had a funding gap, as well as about 19 other projects in the state of Massachusetts were kind of stopped in their tracks because of the COVID pricing situation. Earlier, late summer, we were informed that we could reapply to close that gap. We were obligated to, bring in a certain amount of money. The town of Lee supported us with a portion of that money. We provided our application, and I think we were here in October, and the application had been submitted. We were waiting. We had expected to hear even as early as the end of October, but unfortunately, we have not heard much of anything, nor have, as far as I understand, and I have talked to several colleagues, nor has anyone else. I think, the unfortunate situation is, the good news is that the state, for the first time in many years, has a lot of money to give out. There's a lot happening, with the ARPA funds and other funds and the housing crisis we're in, and I think they're just in a substantial backlog. I don't think, I certainly don't have any concern that we will get funded, but that's unfortunately the situation we're in at the moment. I believe we told you in October as well that once we have a funding commitment, it's our understanding that DW and Jeff Cohen's team, it has every intention of taking the houses down before we get to a financial closing. But I think they're willing to do it just with the, commitment of funds from the state. But we are waiting on this. John and I spoke last Thursday or Friday, and he called. I thought, oh yes, we're finally going to hear. And unfortunately, we were strategizing about what to say. And up until 4:30 this afternoon, I was still hoping, but we have unless, John, you have news that I'm not aware of, no, we are still waiting. So do you want to add anything, John? Is that...
Briefly, thank you, Eileen and members of the select board. I just want to emphasize two things you said. The first is that I have zero concerns as well. The DHCD has the undersecretary has called me twice about the project so that I can answer specific questions. That's because they have to have everything, all their I's dotted, T's crossed. So we're disappointed that it's taken this long. The issue, as you can probably imagine, is that when the DHCD, which is a very good agency, is not set up to have projects come and reapply over and over because of funding gaps. It's a new thing that's happened since COVID, and they're just struggling to keep up with the workload. So any day we will get the formal commitments and away we go. So I'm not concerned. It's disappointing for everyone that it's taken this long. And then the second thing I wanted to emphasize that Eileen mentioned is that I know that Jeff Cohen's team and DEW are as eager as we are. They are, although they're not going to do anything until we get the commitments and confirm for them that everything's a go. They're negotiating with their subcontractors who are going to be doing the site work, including the demolition. It's not like they're just going to wait and then start that process, which could take months. They're already in heavy discussion. Contracts are being drafted, all of that stuff. So they're eager to go as well. And I'm guessing the day we get our commitments and send them around, it's not going to be the next day that they do it, but that will allow them to sign contracts and then proceed with that work. While on a parallel track, Eileen and I will be working with the state to close on all the financing for our project so we can start the mill itself. So that's, and we can, I know, I think there were a few questions when we were on Concom here a couple months ago, and certainly we can answer any questions you folks have, and we appreciate everybody's patience, believe me.
Yeah, Bob?
And we'll certainly quickly let Chris know as soon as we hear.
Yeah. Bob, Gordon, you guys want anything you want to?
No, so the short answer would be to our constituents who are concerned and about the timeline and that sort of thing, would simply be due to state funding, the lack of thereof to this date. That's what's been really holding up the project. I mean,
yes, there's a funding gap due to COVID,
right.
And I mean, really, I believe it's probably a combination, like John was just saying. They're a great, DHCD is a strong organization, but these are sort of unique times, and it's unfortunate this combination of an incredible amount of challenges, more work for them to do, and like everyone other employer, around the country, they're short-staffed. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's holding things up. But I feel really confident that it's got to happen, before we close out the year. I think they've got to be committed to that, because of course this is one funding round, and I'm waiting on 2 other funding rounds at this point for other projects. So, there's quite a backlog at this moment. But as far as I know, this is the next one that's going to get released.
Is there anything that we can do to help things along without exacerbating the situation, or?
If I thought, it required political influence, we would be having those conversations, but I honestly don't believe that's what it is at all. I think it's just a logistical challenge that they're confronted with. All the little T's and I's that need to be crossed and dotted don't go away. Like, we'd like to think, there's no more money and there's a housing crisis, they should be able to get the money out the door more quickly. But, all of these funding sources come with complicated strings attached to them. And there are different strings for each funding source. So, it's not just a matter of saying, we want to support this. It's like juggling many different pots of money that have their own requirements and obligations and trying to maximize that across the state. And I think that's, probably where the log jam is for them to do this. So.
Yeah, no, and thank you for the offer. The most important thing the town could do, the town already did a year ago, and that's when the state told us, if you're going to reapply, you need to get more money from the town. It's small in the scheme of the amount we're asking from the state, but it sends a huge message to DHCD. That's why it's critical. So the extra $100,000.
Yeah, I think it was
is a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah, the extra $100,000 a year ago or whatever it was. That was huge. So thank you. But nothing else is needed at this point other than, if this drags on, then we can figure out how to risk making it worse by starting to make phone calls.
Yeah.
That was the question, yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Nope. We wanted them to come in and explain, and because we had so many people asking questions, and they've done that, and that's our job. We got them in here to explain.
Right.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you fielding those questions. I'm sure it's frustrating for everybody,
Yeah.
as it is for us.
Well, I was just gonna say, I could feel the frustration a little bit from the both of you on this as well, because I know how long you guys have been looking forward to getting this going, and it's sort of still in this standstill of funding. So we appreciate the time and coming in, and we'll look forward to hearing from you further. So.
All right. Well, the next time will be good news.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing
All
from you.
right. Have a nice holiday, everyone.
You as well.
Thanks.
All right. With that brings us up to 7:16. So I think we can go ahead and take on this matter of special permit for canna provisions. So like I stated, I do have an email from Eric Williams, COO, says canna provisions would like to pull its application for special permit, 905 Pleasant Street. So is that gonna be sufficient enough for us to close this hearing and
I would think so.
allow them to just withdraw in that matter? Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke with him as well, and then requested something in writing, and I believe, Sabrina, we just got that the end of the day yesterday or this morning, I think. This morning, so, yeah.
So I'd entertain a motion to accept their withdrawal.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we allow Canna Provisions to withdraw their special permit application without prejudice at 905 Pleasant Street.
I'll second that.
I'll recuse myself.
If there's no further discussion, I'll open it up just really quickly if anybody wants to say anything, being a public hearing, but there's nothing really to be heard. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gordon Bailey, aye, just to make sure.
Yeah, Sean Renier, aye.
record.
Thanks
Yep.
for the minutes. One abstention, and that will bring us past public comment to Green Communities updates. I believe we have somebody here, right, Chris?
You do,
you wanna-
yes. I'd like to welcome Brittany from BRPC. As the board knows, back, I think in June or July, Mark Rabinski came in from DEP to talk about the Green Communities program, and we were talking about the stretch code at that point, which was changing, and we were going to revisit that before town meeting. We also have to do an energy audit to be able to adopt that, and Brittany is here to talk a little bit about that tonight, and as well as we have one of her colleagues on Zoom as well, and they're able to provide that for us. So.
Yeah, I brought literature, probably just a review at this point, but kind of as Eileen had mentioned before, these funding sources always come with strings attached. So we've been working with Chris on the early stages of supporting the town of Lee getting designated as a Green Communities. So just as a recap, a Green Communities program is funded by the state as part of their larger goals of decarbonization. They want to cut greenhouse gas emissions 85% by the year 2050. So one way they're doing that is by going to the local level and helping provide grants for towns for their energy efficiency and renewable projects. So in order to qualify for the competitive grants, you have to be first designated as a green community, which comes with 5 criteria. One of them being that dreaded stretch code. So our more robust criterion is developing an energy baseline, which involves collecting all of the inventory for municipal buildings and their energy sources, such as town hall, what's the electricity you pay, heating, any propane, any tanks. And that will help us develop a baseline to then move forward with getting energy assessment of all the buildings. And that's where we can get recommendations of where can there be energy cost savings, big projects that we can tell the state that we can make recommendations to put together an energy reduction plan for 20% over the next 5 years. So that requires a more robust work on our end. It's gathering a lot of data and then scheduling the auditors to come in and let us know building by building what can they recommend for projects, something simple as ventilation, windows, even bigger scale like heat pumps, which Shirdeel's a lot more familiar with. So at this point, are there any questions that I can answer? I'm also happy to walk away with questions and bring to Mark Robinski, who's still our regional coordinator right now.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't have any questions. Gordon, Bob, you guys have any?
I don't think so.
Since you said there's 5 criteria and we've talked about 2,
Right.
Can you, for the public's sake, can you mention the other 3?
Yeah, so criterion 1, which is actually checkmarked already, has to do with renewable energy development. So it's one of the bylaws for renewable energy. I think you guys have done a lot with solar. Criterion 2 follows criterion 1, which is the appeal permitting process. So this, from the state view, if you're going to have a renewable project, let's not make it 5 to 10 years to get up and running. So that's more of a policy, written policy you just have to have in place. Criterion 3 is the energy baseline and reduction plan. So again, that's our heftier part of all this. Criterion 4 is adopting a fuel efficiency policy. So any new vehicles the town should purchase needs to have a certain fuel efficiency. And of course, with every rule, there's an exclusion. So we're not talking the fire trucks and ambulance, more of the 4-door passenger vehicles. And then you have to keep a vehicle inventory, which is usually just a spreadsheet. And then criterion 5 is the stretch code, which goes for, has to do with life cycle analysis. So any new buildings, they want to have energy efficiency built in.
Yeah. And at this point in time, we haven't adopted the stretch code in Lee. And the energy audit is the other big piece.
Yeah, that's, we need to get some paperwork formalized to have Berkshire Regional Planning start to put together a dashboard, which will be part of our energy tracking, and just working with the town to collect utility bills, really. It's just a lot of data in the early part. So that the state, rolled out this program, and really what that equates to on the local level is energy reduction and cost savings for the town. So it's really a win-win. But at this point, failure to adopt all the 5 criterion wouldn't allow us to move forward with the designation. So that's one of their stricter rules.
Early on in this process, which was quite a while ago when they did this, I know that there was one of the carrots, not the stick, was that they also had a pile of money to be able to be divvied up as people joined, but so many people have joined. Is there still occasionally DOER or somebody put out like energy grants that would still be, that are only available to us if we in fact follow up and join this project?
So once you're designated as a green community, that does qualify you to apply for competitive green communities funding. I don't know of other funding sources outside of the green communities, but last year the state did give green communities $8 million.
Okay.
So again, it's part of the state's hefty agenda for decarbonization, which is leading the country really at this point.
Right.
There's 14 municipalities in the Berkshires alone that are part of it. There's over 280, but they want all 351 municipalities as green communities.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Shadil, can you add to any of that?
No, not really. The main thing to know is that there's 2 rounds of fundings annually, and as long as you have completed all your reports, you're eligible for both rounds.
So we would be working with Brittany and BRPC on the audit, and then how would we go about adopting the stretch code if we wanted to?
Yeah, so between
The
now and town meeting, we
meeting.
would need to add that to
Yeah.
the warrant again. And I believe we were talking earlier, but when Mark was here back during the summer, were still making some edits, so before we did anything, I believe that's all done now, you know,
Yes.
Brittany? It is
It's
all set,
online, you
okay.
can go online
So-
and take a look at it. There's actually a training this Thursday,
Okay.
I believe.
You're hired.
Just
Yeah, and we did touch base, Tridial touch base with Department of Energy, and Mark will still be available and specifically to support any questions or processes with the stretch code.
Great.
Yeah, so if the board would like to continue on this, I will be happy to follow up with Brittany tomorrow and we can get that paperwork for the next phase of this in progress.
We're in a multi-phase of this, but yeah, I mean, it really comes down to how can we help the town get designated to really address some large-scale energy reduction plans, which is just really does equate to cost savings on the budget.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion on that, or just instruct?
Yeah, if you'd like to make it official for me to go ahead and I'll sign all the paperwork for BRPC and we should be good to go on this phase, so.
Okay.
The energy reduction plan, right?
Yeah, that's our big one.
Okay, yeah, I'd certainly entertain a motion to, I guess, I don't know exactly what you would need in the language of the motion, but to continue pursuing the green communities designation for Lee.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we ask the town administrator to take the next step toward becoming designated as a green community.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Great,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks, Brittany.
We'll be in touch, I'm sure. Our next order of business, we have a change of hours request by the One-Eyed Cat Enterprises doing business as the locker room. Do we have somebody from the locker room here on Zoom? Is this Rick?
Methy is on the screen.
Perfect. So Rick, we got your request. Let me just get to it here. I don't want to speak for you, but I have right now that you're asking for your hours of operations to be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Which
That's correct.
I was assuming that was a different.
Typo?
Yeah, that was a
1
typo.
a.m.
We would, yeah.
1
that's-
a.m.
Oh, 1 a.m. I'm sorry. 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.
It'd be a very short day.
Short day, might as well shut it down.
You might
Just saying.
you might have some very angry townspeople if you close at 1
Yeah.
p.m. So
Thanks for that catch.
yeah, no, absolutely. I don't have. I mean, Bob Gordon, if you
I think
like to see
one
it.
thing that it might come down to is, we should make sure there's just no problem as far as, I don't know of any past problems at all through the police department. We might want to just run it quickly by, but contingent on that. And the other is, I know they had entertainment permits before. This request doesn't necessarily change the,
right.
amusement kind of stuff. And, because years ago, we had a heck of a battle with neighbors and noise. And I don't want to see us go through what some other towns have
Well,
done lately.
we've had some issues. I think before you were on the board with
Well, the first time I was on the board, we had
Yeah.
big issues, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go through that again. So, are you intending to come back and change your hours of operation as far as amplified music or anything like that? Is that part of this
No
request?
changes as far as that goes. No, we try to stop any music by 11 a.m. and even
PM.
prior to that. So
Yeah.
we don't want it to go all night.
Well, nor do the neighbors,
Yeah.
and I don't want to see that get into a problem. So as long as you're not trying to amend any kind of amplified or music to go beyond your 11 p.m., cycle, then that would make a difference on how I look at this. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And, as far as the research we did, or that was done on our behalf, there was no hours listed. So this was more of just getting these hours updated and into the system.
Right. Yeah.
But nothing as far as like entertainment goes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, anyway, I don't have a problem as long as they try, or if they are intending to change those hours, that they come back to us, amend their entertainment license.
Yeah. So I'd entertain a motion to accept the request for a change of hours, contingent on, I think, Chris, maybe you can follow up with the chief and just make sure that we haven't had any serious incidents or anything, and then also contingent on the entertainment license not running until 1 a.m.
Yeah, I'll so move. I'll move that.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Anybody on?
Anybody? I got one other, got Peg on there. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yep.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Our next order of business, we have a fee schedule change request from the town clerk, which we would need to approve if we would feel the need to. And I'll just read out these. It's a number of certificates. Death certificate, birth certificates, marriage certificates. Right now, our current fee is $5. We would be upping that fee to $8. Business certificate is $10. We'd be upping that to $25. Marriage intentions is $15 currently, and then we'd be upping that to $25. And then if you wanted to do a courtroom wedding, you would need to pay $100, whereas right now we're only charging $50. So those are the proposed fee updates from the clerk. If you guys have any questions, Chris, do you want to speak to anything, or?
Yeah, basically just, the clerk had, received some information. There's some statewide organizations that had, surveyed, pricing and found
we're cheap, right?
We were significantly under what a lot of towns were charging, and they haven't been updated in over a decade. So, this pretty much puts us on the kind of the state average price. We were well below that before, so.
Yeah.
And the weddings is something that not many towns do. It's kind of there's a handful of them that Lee does do that. So, but most of them are charging closer to the $100 range now.
Okay.
So.
Hey, it's certainly a nice venue.
I think during COVID we did 40 or 50 a year.
Really?
So during 20 and 21.
I'm kind of surprised. That's amazing. Wow.
People wanted just a small ceremony.
Yeah.
They couldn't have a big wedding during, with capacity restrictions.
Pretty amazing. I'd make a motion to adopt the modified certificate pricing as given to us by the town clerk.
I'll second it.
Second. If there's no further discussion on the fee schedule, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a number of alcohol licenses. So this is renewal time. So I guess I would just start by calling out what license renewals we have here, and I guess we can kind of maybe take it in chunks here. For all alcohol, is this? Yeah, this is alcohol renewals. Did I go too far, or is this? Approval? Yeah. So for alcohol licenses, we have Alpamayo Restaurant, Baja Charlie's, Bucky's Tavern, D&G Hospitality, doing business as Cafe Triskeli, FDR Food, Food Group doing business as Roses, KJ Nosh Catering, Moe's Tavern, Mantra 2 Incorporated doing business as 51 Park, One-Eyed Cat Enterprises doing business as the Locker Room Sports Pub, Robert L. Consilini, it's hard not to, yeah. And Stephen E. Gage doing business as the 102 Tavern, Shri Ganesh Restaurants LLC doing business as Mint Indian Lakeside Dining, Silverleaf Resort doing business as Oak and Spruce, Southern Berkshire Food Services doing business as the Salmon Run, and the Avocado Cafe, and the last one is Tim Kev LLC doing business as Timothy's Restaurant and Pizzeria. So if I got all those right and there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we approve the alcohol license renewal for the aforementioned businesses.
I'll second, but I do have a question.
Sure.
For the clerk, basically, clerical staff. Were all the periodic inspections done and returned to us? Because I know we're not supposed to approve until they're done.
Yep,
So we're good. Cool.
Yep.
Okay, everything's good. Okay, thank you. No, I know, just, we're not supposed to approve without that certificate coming back to us. Okay.
So I have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next we have a couple in-holder renewals. Berkshire Restaurant Group doing business as the Morgan House, Waterside Resort Properties doing business as the Lake House.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we issue the in-holder license for the two groups you just mentioned.
I'll second that.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next we have AWM. What is that? Amusement? Is this amusement?
Annual wine and malt.
Annual wine and malt, right, okay. Which is Athena's Restaurant and Emmy Davis doing business as the Starving Artist. So those would be licenses below just all alcohol,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the licenses for the Athena's and the Starving Artist Cafe.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next we have alcohol licenses for package stores. Berkshire Liquors, we have Lee Package Store, and J. Mahdi Liquors doing business as East Lee Package.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to issue the licenses for package stores as you've read.
I'll second it.
I have a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next we have another alcohol. This would just be wine and malt package stores. Route 102 Package Store, Bonham and Boo LLC doing business as Lee Sitco, JW Sandry doing business as Sandry Stop Mart, and then Global Montello Group Corporation doing business as Convenience Plus number 2750. So I'm guessing that's, is that mobile up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
241 Main.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the annual wine and malt licenses and package licenses for the aforementioned businesses.
I'll second that.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that brings us to, we have another round of license renewals here. Common Victulars, which anybody who's preparing food, that's what these licenses are for. We have a number of them, so I'll just run through them. Bonham and Boo LLC, doing business as Lee Sitco. We have Big Y Foods, doing business as Big Y Express and Big Y. FDR Food Group, doing business as Roses. Heather Earl, doing business as Joe's Diner. Langeron LLC, doing business as Prado's Cafe. Blue John's Auction Group, doing business as New Belden Tavern. New England Authentics Eats, doing business as Papa Gino's, and that same business is also doing D'Angelo's there. New England Wraps, we have McBee Enterprises, doing business as Fresh City, McDonald's, and Pretzel Gourmet. Red Apple Garden, Starbucks, AAA LLC, doing business as Lucky's Ice Cream and Grill, Vivaldi's, and Wen Ki Sing, doing business as the Panda Garden.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve and issue the common victualler licenses for the businesses you just read.
A second?
I'll second it.
If there's no further discussion, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next we have annual entertainment, and this is for weekday, I see here. Baja Charlie's, Berkshire Restaurant Group, doing business as the Morgan House, Bucky's Tavern, Emmy Davis, KJ Nosh Catering, Moe's Tavern, Mantra 2 Incorporated, doing business as 51 Park, One-Eyed Cat Enterprises, doing business as the Locker Room Sports Pub, Silver Leaf Resorts, doing business as Oak and Spruce Resort, Tim Kev LLC, doing business as Timothy's Restaurant and Pizzeria, and then the last one is Waterside Resort Properties, doing business as the Lake House Inn.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the annual entertainment licenses for the aforementioned businesses.
I'll second it.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next we have 3 Class 2 auto dealers for license renewal. Euromotors LLC, doing business as Schmidt Motors. Gerald Drake, doing business as Drake's Used Cars, and we have RW's Incorporated as well.
I'd make a motion that we issue the Class 2 auto dealers as named.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have one Class 3 auto dealer, which is Drake's Auto Parts, doing business as Drake's Auto Parts.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we issue the Class 3 auto dealers permit to Drake's Auto Parts.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have a number of amusement devices for renewal. Bucky's Tavern, Robert L. Consolini, and Stephen E. Gage, doing business as 102 Tavern, and Silver Leaf Resorts, doing business as Oak and Spruce Resort.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve and issue the amusement devices for the upcoming year for the businesses mentioned.
I'll second it.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And in-holder licenses, we have 5 here. Berkshire Restaurant Group, doing business as the Morgan House. Best Hospitality Incorporated, doing business as Devonfield Inn. Shambury Inn Incorporated. Silver Leaf Resorts, doing business as Oak and Spruce Resort. And Waterside Resort Properties, doing business as the Lake House Inn.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we renew the in-holder licenses for the aforementioned businesses.
I'll second that.
And if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our last license renewal to issue here is for taxi cabs or limos, and this is Abbott's Limousine and Livery Service Incorporated. So I'd entertain a motion for approval.
I'd make a motion to approve Abbott's Limousine and Livery Service renewal license.
I'll second that.
In a second, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that brings us to the next order of business. We have the report from 2022 from the ABCC, and this is we just have to approve this fee report from last year as far as, you know, this just kind of outlines how many of the different licenses that we issued last year and what the totals were. So I don't know if there's any questions on this, or if I should, I guess it would just be notable to say that we have 32 different licenses last year, and the total fees collected are $17,850, and those licenses are alcohol license, in-holder licenses, that's basically it, different alcohol licenses, seasonal in one day and annual, kind of like.
Mr. Chairman, do we have to acknowledge this, or is it just a report?
You'll need to sign.
I think, yeah, I think we just need to.
Oh, we'll all sign?
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that the board sign off on the annual report, 2022 ABCC annual report.
I'll second that.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next item on our agenda, we have approval of the 2023 seasonal population increase. And this is kind of interesting. So basically we'd be stating, if we were to approve this, acting under authority in MGL Chapter 138, Section 17, as amended, our board at the meeting today estimated that a total temporary increased resident population of Lee as of July 10th, 2023 will be 4,742 people. And our next page, we kind of have a breakout of how we're calculating that number. And the large majority of that increase is for oak and spruce seasonal patrons there for the different size units. And then we also have a number of second homeowners, which we're estimating at 602. So 602 second homeowners plus 4,140 estimated seasonal patrons of oak and spruce would bring us to that total, 4,742. So I would be looking for motion or approval, and are we all, I think we would all sign this as well.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we accept the 2023 seasonal population increase estimate.
Shall I second that?
There's no further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next order of business, we have on here discussion for non-retail marijuana licenses, and we have a breakout here, and just for everybody watching at home, because there's nobody here. We have issued 2 retail permits, and now that Canna Provisions has withdrawn that special permit for the 905 Pleasant Street, we've issued 3 cultivation and 3 manufacturing to different entities. So I guess that's where we're at. The town has the ability to issue as many as 14 total, right? Or is it 14, sorry. It's
14 non-retail.
14 non-retail plus the 2 retail. So that's where we're at. Our bylaws right now allow us to approve up to 14 non-retail, 2 retail, and I guess that's the discussion that we are looking to have, is that, do we want to change that, I guess is the question. And I know, Gordon, you kind of...
That was me.
You kind of spurred this on.
Yes, I did.
Unless, Chris, you want to add something first?
Just a
but
quick clarification that we did have more than that, more than the 6.
Right, yeah.
We did have a few that had expired because they had not
That's
done any
notable to...
substantial work towards the...
Notable to...
So we did have them, I think, 13 out of those 14 filled, but many have expired, so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I brought this and requested that you put on the agenda for our discussion. There's one grower that's very particular, very close to where I live, and they grow and they also produce, make product there and fabricate. And all I can tell you is, I'm trying to look into it. I've reached out to the owner because there are times of the day when it's horrific smell that comes out of, and I don't know if it's the growing part or if it's the fabricate, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's why I reached out, and I'm waiting. I'll reach out again because I haven't heard back in over a month. But it sounds like there's other issues going on for the owner, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions. So I'll reach out again. But I thought that we should have revisit this situation because I have gotten a number of complaints from other residents about the smell. And again, we don't know.
I've heard some
where
too.
is it?
I've heard some too.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
the issue is, I wanted to bring it out now so the townspeople could consider whether we want to take any kind of action at town meeting to either, once we figure out what the smell is. To tell you the truth, I don't want to impose this on anybody else in town.
Yeah.
If this is a standard practice and this smell, no matter whether they're a Greylock Mill or any other location, no matter what, I don't want to impose this kind of odor issue on any other neighborhood. And I think we can get this under control in this one location. But again, I'll reach out and come back. But I thought, I think Ms. Hall wrote a letter.
She did, I saw that, yep.
And maybe we could just mention that and read that in. But that's it. I just wanted to begin the discussion of, are we going to be, maybe we want to do more grow and less fabrication or the other way around. I don't know, because I don't know where the smell's coming from, but it's horrible when you go outside.
And this ties into something, I think, something else that's very, relevant is we have impact fees that, we collect. And this smell is absolutely an impact to the community.
Yeah.
So I kind of briefly talked to Chris about, is there some way that now we have two operating establishments as of right now with a number of other permits out there, right? So is there something that those entities would be willing to work with us on, because this is an impact to the community that they've brought with them, that we've heard a number of complaints at this point. So is there a way that we can work towards identifying with them what's going on with the ventilation or whatever it is, and then kind of move towards that? But I also, that's sort of separate to what I guess we were discussing with the number of establishments that we would allow in town, which I think both are on the table to discuss it.
Well, I know that I've gone back and read the special permits. There's some clerical issues, which Samantha has nothing to do with her. Excuse me. Sorry about that. No, sorry. Anyway, she has nothing to do with it. But there were some issues. But one of the points was that once they start up, they were going to come back in for like an annual review for the first. And I think that we need to maybe even bring people in sooner in the future if we are to issue more special permits, especially if once we figure out whether it's fabrication or growing or whatever, And I have talked to some other people who say the smell should not be an issue. There's enough technological, issues out there where they should be able to clean that up pretty much so that it's really, really minimal.
That's what I recall being said too at the hearings that we had on when I was on here, and we issued a couple special permits for these entities, which we were always reassured that there would be no smell issues. So that's where I'm wondering, in this one instance, is there something off with the actual system that he might be able to tweak to get it right? Number one, that's kind of what I'm wondering. Or is it a larger problem than that we need to, because ultimately I think that if there's an impact like this that there, that's impacting the community, we've agreed mutually to work on these things together with the with these businesses, so.
And we have reached out to them and setting up a meeting, I think second week in January. So-
There could also be an issue where they kind of, I don't want to say jump the gun to get started, but maybe before everything was in place, because I have to say, I think, after discussions with the person here, that it's been a little bit better, you know, so maybe it was a matter of control, tweaking controls, and maybe everything wasn't in place, you know, so that's why I'm anxious to speak with them before I make any, or try and move forward on squashing this stuff, because, you know, there is some revenue that comes around, but it's not worth the smell, I'll tell you that, anybody who's been near it. That's all.
Absolutely,
Just
no,
a
and I
discussion.
have heard a number of people drive by that say that, you know, they pick it up and it comes through the AC, or at this point, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be recusing myself from this vote, but as a resident, I also asked her, and by the way, when you mentioned it, I said, I had no idea, but I went down, and you were absolutely right. That you could smell, at least when I went down there. And the comments that I've gotten thus far have been, well, what about, you know, the mills, don't they smell? What about the dairy farms, don't they smell? So I think what we have to be thinking about, or what you have to be thinking about, is how to balance that out. And I agree, it's a terrible
It's an issue.
But I think it has to be considered.
No, we'll have to, I know we're a right to farm, however, the agricultural and cannabis people have been very specific, and the zoning bylaws also point out that they are not considering cannabis to be an agricultural product at this point in time. It may become one, but at this point in time, they can't really hide behind the right to farm issue.
Right.
You know, they need to come to grips with, let's fix it for the people who live in that neighborhood.
Understood.
It's way more than just my wife and I.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. I'm aware of that, for sure.
And there's other businesses that also are not happy, not just the residents.
Right.
So, anyway, so I look forward to hearing for this owner and meeting and trying to figure this out, see where we're headed.
Yeah, so if it comes to the actual, you know, number of non-retail, my understanding of the process was, if we were to do anything, we would make a recommendation to the planning board to change the bylaws. Is that, they would hold a hearing?
Yeah, we'd have to go to town meeting.
Have to go to town meeting
deals.
eventually, yeah. So it'd be a process to do, which I'm not against doing. I think it's reasonable to limit, and it would, if we were to either limit it to what we have here, or maybe allow for a couple more licenses, it might make it a little bit more competitive as well for the, you know, those last few spots, because ultimately I think as the town, for the town, I think that this would, having more industry is a good thing, and if someone's willing to buy a old mill and renovate it, we should try to allow that. But, you know, we've now issued a number of permits here that's been the idea, and that hasn't quite happened, so I think we just need to kind of look at all that.
Mr. Chairman,
think
we
about
also
it.
have to remember that, you know, it's opened up in New York now, it's opened up in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and so you may have less people interested in doing it anyway, so maybe right away where we thought all these people would be knocking the doors down to get going, it could be that, you know, either regulations are easier somewhere else, or, you know, it just didn't pan out the way they wanted. I don't know what the answer is, but.
Laws of the market.
It's always market driven, exactly, market driven. And, you know, where are they gonna get financing from necessarily if the market's not quite the same, or if it's up in the air as to how the market's gonna go, you know, financing may be a little different, so. I just wanted to bring it up for a discussion so people know that
Do we want to
talk about it.
do we want to continue this discussion at our next meeting, or maybe?
Well, maybe let's see, I mean, if you don't mind, I can bring it up. I mean, I'd really like to go speak with this gentleman, but if we can't do it in the next 2 weeks, then there's no use doing it.
It's holidays and everything, so let's we can sort of.
By the end of January.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we're hoping to meet with them mid-January on the HCA, so at that point, maybe the meeting after the end of January.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
And we might have some more answers by then.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll table this for the moment.
thank you for putting it on the agenda.
Absolutely. I think it's important. Our next order of business, we have an appointment to the BPW board. And Chris, I have a letter here from Jim, is it Ethier?
Ethier, yeah.
Ethier, yeah. He's got 10 years of experience in Berkshire housing facilities, decade overseeing operations of Pittsfield Federal Building, yeah, and trade experience and the like. So I know we've been kind of working through some Board of Public Works changes, and we had a couple members resign. So this was a request from the current board and chair to add a member so that they're not so tight on their quorum.
Until we make any official changes, their quorum is 4, they have 4, so this would allow.
That's what I'm getting.
Some
yeah,
flexibility if a
exactly. That's
member
what I'm
couldn't be
getting
there
at, yeah.
to approve abatements and so forth that are required by bylaw.
So I'd entertain a motion to appoint Jim Ethier.
I'll move that we appoint Jim Ethier to the BPW.
I'll second it.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any topic that could not be reasonably anticipated? I don't have anything that came up all of a sudden, so.
I would just I'd update you that I did attend a Zoom MPO.
I remember reading that in the minutes.
Yeah, all right, so.
The last meeting?
Yeah, actually, the MPO met today at 4 o'clock until about 5:30, to discuss transit issues. And I think, in my mind, I was kind of annoyed at we had to fill out a survey. And it was kind of annoying because it was so obviously made up by DOT people who live in eastern Massachusetts. Like, what would you like to see money put toward? More bike racks at the T, more, it's like, really?
Yeah.
We don't have that out here.
Right.
Renee Wood spoke up a lot about that, so Jim Lovejoy of Mount Washington, and I wrote a comment. It's like, obviously, whoever came up with this survey they're not from Western Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
We did give a lot of feedback and typed in a lot of things in the chat, which they're going to take back with them. But I thought somebody didn't think this through very well for Western Mass, what we need out here for transit and transportation. But I'm hoping that at least with all our comments from all the different members to Berkshire Regional Planning, that they'll get that message back to Boston, and they will perhaps give us another bite at the apple to kind of brainstorm more what we really do need, and put money toward.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all. I just thought I'd give you an update.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That happened today. The other thing is, I know we talked about fees earlier. I had brought up a long time ago the issue that the Zoning Board of Appeals, they have a special permit fee, but they don't have, they haven't discussed, to my knowledge, they haven't met and discussed the issue of what kind of a fee do we need to charge if a citizen wants to appeal a zoning enforcement order, or actually they have quite broad powers to almost hear over anybody's decision as an officer of the town. And it's like, I don't want to leave that languishing out there, because we had an issue last year where somebody didn't feel they should pay the money because it was town-wide problem, not a specific. If it's specific to one individual and they are going to get a benefit, then realistically that's okay. But I think when it's a much broader base, or we should consider some kind of broader base issue where we have a reduced fee or no fee, or maybe it's you charge a fee, but if it's overturned, then they get their money back. Something. I don't want to let this conversation drop.
I just think have to figure out the language.
Yeah, I agree, Bob. Yeah.
Because I agree with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a problem with something the neighbor's doing. That's one thing as opposed to.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I just wanted to keep that conversation alive if we could.
Yeah, they haven't
somehow
had a meeting in quite a while. There hasn't been
an appeal.
an appeal,
Yeah.
but I'm certainly willing
Or
to reach
variance,
out,
yeah.
to
That's what I was
see
gonna
if they
ask,
would
I
meet
guess.
for this purpose.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I know there was some training, and perhaps we could get an update from the zoning board of appeals and the planning board as to who attended. There were about 6 different trainings. I'd love to know if our folks actually got there, because there was some good training going on. And we were paying, town was paying for it if they wanted to go to it. So anyway, that was, I think those at this moment were the only things that well, I guess one last thing. I know we had suggested bringing in different boards to sort of tell us what they did on it.
Yeah,
And I think that's kind of gone by the wayside. If we could re-energize a couple of these boards to show up.
I think we have a couple scheduled
Oh,
for the new
great.
year, right? Do we?
Yeah,
Or
we
no?
are, there was a bit of a gap.
Right.
We
Yeah.
do have, we did have one, that we were supposed to hear from the school committee sooner, but that, there was a conflict and we had to reschedule, and the Board of Assessors as well is scheduled to come in, so there was a little bit of a gap over the summer, and then,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Well, one, I know that people, I was talking to somebody the other day who said, how do people even know that there's vacancies? And I said, well, it's on our website, but it's like not an easy, it's better than it's ever been, but it's still not necessarily just
Yeah.
single click. But I know that we're in the middle, or will be in the middle of negotiations with the cable company, and we're missing 3 people.
We did just lose a member there recently.
Yeah, so we need to, anybody who's interested in serving on the cable advisory committee, we need bodies. We need somebody to go and be vocal for the town of Lee.
Yeah.
So whether you're satisfied or dissatisfied or whatever, if you want to get active, that would be a place I'd love to see somebody fill right away, because we're going into some negotiations with Spectrum's always hard, always awful. It's, you know, I just think we need more bodies at the table. That's all.
Yeah.
And we have moved that board and committee appointment section to the main page of the
Great.
website. So
Super,
it's
thank
right
you.
there, right on the front page. As soon as you go to lee.ma.us, there's a board and committee vacancy section.
Great.
That's got a running list. So it's right on, you don't have to click anywhere.
Great.
Except just go to the main page and one click and you're there.
Super.
So
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you getting it there. And that's all the questions I had.
Yeah, speaking of the town website, we did have an update from, Sabrina was great in updating our page as far as different permits that from you know, that we would issue from our office, and I think that was great. And so, yeah,
Look
the
good. Look good.
The new website is really coming along now. How long has this been? About a year, a little over a year we've had this new
yeah, just,
website?
well, a little less
A
actually.
little less
yeah,
than a year, yeah, so,
We're, getting close to about a year.
yeah, so it's good.
But yeah, great job, Sabrina, on adding all those. There's electronic versions of all the Selectboard applications.
Yeah.
That's great.
And a nice flow chart.
So, Bob, if you won't have anything other than that, I'd hand it over to Chris.
I'll just tell you that I did meet with Melissa Provencher of Rest of the River, and we're going to meet again on Thursday.
Great.
I'll go into detail there.
Great.
And look for your guidance on a number of things.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, Town Administrator report?
Yeah, just actually, good segue into that. I do have a Rest of River report. It's very brief, just that this week they'll be doing continued groundwater monitoring at the UDF site. And they also expect less activity as it goes into the winter months, so I may not have bi-weekly updates until the springtime, but if I do get any, I will continue to share them.
Thank you.
Also, just to let the board know on the LED lighting, we are beginning the next phase, which is investment grade audit, which they'll be doing more detailed work on site. Met with the company again today, and then there will be an article at town meeting for phase 3 of the project. So right now we've got our initial audit was done, which the numbers you have were based on, and now they're actually going out to look at the infrastructure and what type of fixtures we want, that sort of thing, what options are on there. Right now, they are looking at the smart LEDs and they are investigating what options there may be for Wi-Fi in the Main Street area, and I'll have more information when we get closer if that's an option. on the overhead lights, so. Lastly, budget, the proposed budget should be available to this board and the finance committee. Our goal is by the end of this week, we've got it 99% ready, the binder's ready to go. Finance committee will have their first meeting on January 10th, and like I said, we should have the information out to the board soon, so.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right, well, our next regular meeting is January 3rd. I wish everybody happy holidays and a new year, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.